Welcome to Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. See the pond out there in the distance. Let's head on inside and check out the house. This is a nice open porch area here. This was recently enclosed within the past 2 years. Basically make it like an additional room now to the house, this enclosed porch area. When you enter the Hinsdale house, on your right is Mike's room. And this is the famous shelf where Mike had the incident where poltergeist activity occurred. Right there. It's the main kitchen area of the Hinsdale house. And this room right here is the main epicenter of the house. On the wall here is a signature. It pretty much sums up this house. Paul Kenyon, a local resident who lived here during the 1970s and was a friend of the family, sat here during the exorcism that occurred here in this house on April 13th, 1974. And this is the room in which the exorcism took place. Father Al, who was from St. Bonaventure University, that is nearby in the town of Olean, performed the exorcism here in 1974. For those who witnessed the exorcism, they tell that the house actually began to shake and the walls began to scream, is the way they described it. And after all of that, the exorcism failed. As I just showed you on the wall, that occurred in 1974. The family moved out roughly 6 months later because the exorcism failed and they had just had enough with the bizarre paranormal activity that occurred in the house here. Enduring that for such a long period of time, they lived here for 4 years and dealt with all of the crazy occurrences that happened to them here. On the wall up here, this is something new that has just been recently added. On the left there, that is the current owner of the Hinsdale house, Daniel Kleiss. And the lady here in the purple, that is Clara Miller. Clara Miller Dandy, who was the mother of the children and the wife of the husband that were here in the 1970s that experienced all of the activity. When they moved away in 1974, she moved out west to the west coast to try to get as far away from this house as possible to start a new life away from all of the paranormal happenings that occurred here in this house. Now this room that is right here was actually used to be walled off when the family lived here. This is Beth's room. And you can see on the floor here where the wall used to be. There's where the wall used to be up into the ceiling. You can see this is where the doorway used to be to enter the bedroom right here. Now this bedroom here has a lot of importance when it comes to the claims of the most active room in the house, Mary's room, which is directly upstairs from this room. And we're going to go up there and show you now, but keep this room in mind here, Beth's room, as we go upstairs. Now this is the room directly above Beth's room, Mary's room. And this room, according to the family, was the most haunted and most active room in the entire house. Now it's not like this was the epicenter of the house. They had strange occurrences all throughout the property, the land, the pond, outside. But as far as the severity of activity, this room was the worst. Mary, who is of course one of the daughters of the Dandy family, could no longer sleep in her room because of all the paranormal activity that would wake her up during the night. So they completely sealed off this room because they did not want whatever was in here to filter into the rest of the house. That was their way of trying to keep what was ever in here away from the rest of the family. So they sealed this room completely off, yet they still heard noises in here as though somebody was actually inside of this room during the nighttime. And Beth, who was asleep right below here, would hear noises as if somebody was up here while the room was completely sealed off. And this is a real telltale sign of this door here. If you look right here, I thought I just heard a woman's voice. On this door is one of those hook locks. That's where it used to meet up to actually lock the door shut from the outside, not from the inside as you would typically have in a bedroom. So this goes to show you that the family actually locked this door in an attempt to try to keep whatever paranormal energy was in this room away from the rest of the house. This was Clara and Phil's bedroom. It's this long yet small, creepy closet. Not sure if there's any backstory about the mirror there. The smallest room in the house here is Laura's room. Now, Laura seemed to be the child who had the most negative effect from the paranormal energy that was in this house. She pretty much, by the time they moved here, the paranormal issues were affecting her so bad that it was essentially tormenting her. I felt so bad for what she had to endure here. This is the crawl space up here right above the kitchen. Now in Laura's room, one night she heard noises occurring on the other side of the wall here, because her room's right over here. In the morning, they checked because she heard these noises all night long, and just like this brick is right here, they found a pile of bricks stacked neatly just randomly in this area. And that was the noises that Laura was hearing that entire night. The bathroom here. This is the basement, obviously. This is where Clara Dandy, during the 4 years the Dandy family lived here, she did not like to come down here at all. So she only came down here when necessary. She said from the moment they first stepped foot into this house, she did not like this area. However, when the family moved in, they were overjoyed to be here in the countryside, away from the city life in Buffalo, New York. This was their nice house in the country that they had longed for. And what turned out to be their dream home became their worst nightmare. That's the Hinsdale House. Quick tour and brief explanation of the occurrences that happened here. This is the house from the backside. And there's Laura's room up on the left window upstairs. Mary's room is on the right. And just over here is the pond. The pond has one of the strangest occurrences of paranormal activity. Was centered around the pond here. A couple times the family was just over here enjoying the pond. The children like to swim there. And during one of these summer days where the children were just enjoying the pond, just randomly out of the blue, they noticed a lady in white around this perimeter of the pond. And they said she was twirling around, dancing around the pond, or the perimeter of the pond, completely oblivious to the current day surroundings from whenever they saw this. They called out to her, and she was completely non-responsive to them at all. And when they went up to investigate further, she was gone. She had vanished. The family also reported hearing chanting noises coming from the woods. One of the earliest paranormal happenings actually occurred. The oldest of the children, Mike, was in the woods one day, Out here in this rural countryside of upstate New York, he wanted to just take a walk in the woods. He had his rifle with him to just take a walk in the woods. Not sure if he was hunting or what was the exact reasoning for having the rifle, but said he saw a man who did not belong here on their property. Called out to him. The guy did not acknowledge him at all. And he felt brave, since he had the firearm there, to walk up and confront this man who was just casually walking along. And just like the lady in white, this man was completely oblivious to the current day situation. Mike was calling out. The guy did not even acknowledge him at all. And as Mike got closer and was very near the man, he disappeared. Now up here, I'm not sure if this was where this occurred, but in this direct path of the woods, they also heard chanting, like I said earlier. And that ties also into this area is Native American land as well. A lot of Native American ties here from the Seneca Indians. And this is the peace offering tree, where guests of the Hinsdale House can come and give any mementos to the spirits of the Native Americans who originally called this home. It has really grown a lot since they first started doing this. All the mementos various people have left here. And these woods are very, very dark at night. As you can see, it's during the middle of the day here. And these tall trees, when it's just getting towards sundown, while it's still light out, it's really dark up here already. So there's always a very uneasy feeling up here as well. And the family stated this house was pretty much their dream house during the day most of the time. They still had paranormal occurrences during the day. Well, usually at night, a more sinister force became known. And like I said, this family that was here, the Dandy family, they didn't give in. They didn't have one or two paranormal experiences and just leave. They fought to keep their house. They fought to keep, this was their dream house. And they did everything in their power to fight the paranormal entities that were overtaking this house and this property, the land. But after 4 years, they exhausted all options and moved away. The house here was occupied by several people after that. The last real residents here who lived here was an elderly couple, Joe and Flo Misnick, who passed away 2 months apart from each other in 2010. Joe passed away August 21st, 2010, and Flo passed away October 21st of 2010. And they were the last ones to live here in the Hinsdale house until it was purchased by Daniel Class. Who now has this house open for investigators to come and explore the paranormal and do their research. Walk out here to the driveway here. Maybe one last view of the house here. Tried to summarize it the best I could without going into too much detail. There are a lot of claims here in this house. And I have to forewarn everybody, if you're looking into this house and trying to read up the history on it, you can lose several hours very easily. I've done it myself. A lot of crazy stuff happened here. And for those who are into the paranormal, it pretty much doesn't get as intense as the paranormal activity that occurred here in this house nearly 50 years ago. But we've investigated here several times, and there's still definitely activity here. And like I said, it keeps paranormal investigators, paranormal enthusiasts coming to this house and allowing the house to continue on. Hopefully for many generations to come. The Hinsdale House in Hinsdale, New York. Thanks for watching, everyone.